If you've been in the coaching industry for a number of years, we can agree on this one thing. The industry itself has changed a lot. Everyone has their own opinions on why that may be, but I want to address the real issue that we are seeing right now, the one that underlies everything. And it comes down to asking one very simple question. How do you stand out in an industry when everyone is selling the exact same physique coaching offer? Because that right there is the real problem, because you can be very, very good at what you do and still feel like it's harder than ever to stand out. And that doesn't matter whether you're busy or inquiries might have started to slow down, because even though they are two very different problems within themselves, they both come down to the same underlying problem, and that is an undifferentiated offer. And once you realize that, you actually stop questioning yourself and you start questioning the delivery model itself. Because if you're an experienced coach, the chances are you are better than the majority of new coaches in the space anyway, and we know that. But even though that you are objectively better at what you do in terms of delivery and the results you get, it still feels like it's getting continuously harder every year, when logically it should be getting easier with the more results and the more experience you've got. And that paradox right there is exactly what I'm going to be breaking down in this 5-part series, not from my opinion, but from what has actually changed within the industry. We are going to look at the impact of things like AI, free information, GLPs, peptides, and the wider shift towards performance, health, and longevity type transformation. But more importantly, I'll show you what experienced coaches need to be doing right now to future-proof the business in an industry that is moving very fast. And I want to be very clear on this before we go any further, because I am not here to sell you the dream. And I can hand on heart promise you that, because this isn't going to be some generic mentoring advice. Like, this is fundamentally something completely different. So you have my word, I'm not going to be flashing some revenue screenshots of the coaches I work with or telling you to charge more for the same physique coaching offer as everyone else, but just labeling it something different. What I'm about to share is the only way I have personally found to build a coaching business that actually feels aligned to my values and is genuinely justified to clients, because that's what really matters at the end of the day. So the real question I'm going to be answering throughout this series isn't, Joe, how do I charge more money? It is going to be, how do I deliver more value? A level of value that goes way beyond physique coaching alone, so you can stand out, justify higher prices with confidence, and align your business with where the industry is actually heading. And the answer isn't just doing more of the same. It's by evolving how coaching is fundamentally delivered. Because value in 2020 might have been a better training or diet plan, but now information is so accessible, it's not knowing what to do, it's helping someone become the person who can actually execute it. That is the difference. So no, this isn't going to be me telling you to deliver the same thing and call it something else like most mentors will. This is instead changing the delivery model entirely to the direction the industry is moving towards. And I only came to this realization myself after spending 7 years coaching, and in that period I built a team of coaches. Yet it was only once I built the business itself I realized that it was completely flawed. And even though I spent 6 figures with some of the best mentors in the industry, every time I asked the question, how do I stand out, I would just get the same answer. Just scale more, send some more DMs, take on more clients, run some ads, or hire some coaches and outsource the thing that I actually love doing. Like, none of it made sense at all, because none of them addressed the actual constraint. They all just spoke solely about scale. That was it. And that was what made me question everything I thought I knew about building a coaching business. So for the very first time, I decided to stop learning from people who were already inside the space, and I invested in someone that was completely outside of it. That's when the unlock actually happened for me, all because I stopped asking how to scale the existing physique coaching model and started asking, was it even the right one in the first place? And this was shortly after reading Alex Hormozi's book, $100 Million Offers, where I learned a very simple concept that completely shifted how I saw the industry. He said this: you can be the best in the world at what you do, but if you're operating in a dying market, you will always lose. And it's so true. And when he says dying market, he isn't saying it's going to just disappear overnight. He is simply referring to a market that has an increasing supply and a shrinking demand, which is exactly what we're seeing in coaching right now. Everyone is selling the exact same thing. There are more coaches than ever before, and we know that. So that has created a very high supply of coaches because there's no barrier to entry. And we have a shrinking demand now because there is AI, GLPs, these peptides along with a ton of free information out there. So getting in shape has never been easier. So clients no longer need a coach just to tell them what to eat or how to train. And when supply keeps rising whilst demand keeps dropping, the outcome is always the same. Things become a commodity by definition. And once something becomes a commodity, prices get driven down. That's the fundamental rule that governs every market of any industry. It's simply supply and demand. And physique coaching right now is exactly the same. So when mentors are trying to solve that problem by telling you to maybe post more or send more DMs, run some ads, whatever the advice may be, all of those things are being done with the same underlying issue, the undifferentiated offer, and a delivery model that only coaches a physique. There is absolutely no regard towards making you different, like none whatsoever. So yes, you can work as hard as you want, you can have the best client results, and you can be a wizard on all things training and nutrition, but if you're selling the same thing as everyone else, it does not matter how good you are, unfortunately. And that is the underlying problem within the industry right now. And when you are delivering a service which just coaches the physique, it doesn't just make it harder to stand out and differentiate and all this stuff. It caps how much you can charge. It has a huge impact on your personal life because it requires a large volume of clients to earn decent money. And most importantly, it massively impacts confidence because most coaches, when business is slowing, don't then question the model. They end up questioning themselves because they have been led to believe that their problem is their own content or is their own market. But that isn't the underlying problem of theirs. It's simply the business model that they are running the business within. And this is where it became completely obvious to me why the physique coaching model is no longer the best option, not just because of differentiation, but because the fitness industry has fundamentally shifted where it places its value. Because if you look at this logically, it's not just the fact that information is now less valuable, it's that people don't just want to look good anymore. The industry has massively shifted in the last couple of years towards performance and hybrid models. Like health and longevity now matter just as much as how someone looks. And at the same time, people are now tracking, sleep, recovery, stress levels, HRV, VO2 max on things like Whoop bands and Apple Watches because they care just as much about how they feel as much as how they look themselves aesthetically. And that in itself tells us everything. It's no longer about telling someone what to do. It is helping them become the person who's actually going to do it. And you've only got to look at things like, High Rocks, which has exploded over the last 5 years to see that this shift is happening in real time. So physique coaching itself still works. So of course it does. Like I'd be an idiot to say that it doesn't, but it doesn't carry the same value that it once did. And that's the difference because just like every industry throughout history that we've seen, technological advancements will shift where value lies. And if your service doesn't evolve with that shift, then your business becomes a commodity too. So you might be sat there thinking, well, Joe, that all sounds great, but what's the answer? Because I get this might actually sound somewhat negative on the surface, but that's not the way that I'm looking at it, because I believe this will be the biggest opportunity of coaches' careers, as it finally gives you a way to stand out, and that is by stepping into what I call identity and performance-led coaching. But let me be very clear before we go any further on this, because this isn't about replacing physique coaching, nor is it about becoming a mindset or a High Rocks coach or anything like that. This is about adding value to move beyond what physique coaching already delivers. And the truth is 99% of you already do mindset and identity-based work already, because if you are already talking to your clients about things like discipline, consistency, stress management, routine, self-confidence, like this type of stuff, you're already halfway there, because it isn't about being a therapist. This is creating a clear transformation pathway for something that you already do. But now layering in proper onboarding, structured dual-tier check-ins and repeatable processes and frameworks, so instead of just hoping someone's mindset improves as a byproduct of the physique coaching, you actually guide them through a deliberate transformation path. That'll be the difference. It's simply looking very logically at the industry and asking what people want and then tailoring delivery towards that thing. Because yes, physique coaching does create results, and that's undeniable, but identity and performance-led coaching is what will actually make them stick with people. So if you've ever wondered why some people constantly give up or give you excuses, it's because they are stuck in an identity that isn't aligned to their goal. And as we know, no training or diet plan in the world will ever fix that for people. This is why most people fail, not because of a lack of information. They fail because their identity pulls them back to old behavior patterns, and that right there is the underlying factor as to why people don't get results. So when we coach identity, it's not about being a motivator or a therapist. We're changing the habits, their routines, their thinking patterns, and ultimately the beliefs that they have about themselves. And that's why identity-led coaching creates a long-term client buy-in. Like, I genuinely believe nothing else will, because you're not just giving someone a plan now, you're leveling up the person behind the plan, which, as we know, translates into every other area of your life. And if you combine that alongside performance metrics, where you are no longer just making them look better, but now physically perform better, maybe live longer, have better health metric data too, improve blood work panels, that shift right there is what I believe is putting you into a category of one of one. Because the best coaches won't be the ones with just better plans, they will be the ones who can deliberately coach the person behind the plan. They're the people who can lead someone through identity change. That's real intrinsic value. And when you layer this properly, this is what happens. Clients are going to be way more consistent and stay with you for longer because they have a much greater buy-in. You attract people who actually want to take ownership and responsibility because that's what you're putting out. And clients stop giving you excuses, and you don't need to sit there, motivate them every week and chase them on check-ins. So the obvious question in your mind right now is, does this process actually work? And real proof to me has never been about revenue screenshots. It's not about how much money someone makes in a month. Of course, this model will definitely make more money because money is simply a byproduct of value, and this is way more valuable. But that has never been the sole purpose behind all of this for me. The real purpose wasn't about having a standout offer or just charging someone more money and justifying it. Like, it was nothing to do with that. It was knowing I was finally coaching in a way that could genuinely transform someone's life. And that was it. And I know that line gets, thrown around a lot. Oh, I change lives. But if you look at the stories I've shared on this channel, you'll see exactly what I mean. Because this path right here gave me a level of fulfillment in coaching I honestly never thought I'd get back. And, I want to be very clear on this. I'm not saying it's impossible, to make good money as a physique coach, because, that would be a blatant lie. But what I am saying from personal experiences, after building a successful physique business myself, I just came to the realization that the model wasn't sustainable for me anymore, as it typically sits at a relatively low price point if you were to compare it to other coaching programs in other industries. So low price points naturally lead to high client numbers, which was the thing that completely took over my own personal life. So for me, it wasn't a model that I wanted to run anymore. And that realization is exactly why I went back to coaching on my own and no longer had a team. And I intentionally let my client numbers drop because I'd reached the point where I was sick of just constantly chasing more and having zero life outside of work. And that decision is what led to the creation of the Coach Creator OS. It was built purely to solve the exact problem I ran into within my own business. And what it resulted in was me creating a model that was entirely different. And it wasn't capped on price, it isn't reliant on managing large numbers of client volume, and it doesn't consume your entire life, so you can actually have a life outside of business. And it allows you to work with clients who are actually aligned to you and you really enjoy working with, which, let's be honest, is everything when it comes to career fulfillment. Because for some of you, standing out and getting more leads might not be the actual issue anymore. The issue is instead building a business where you're not constantly having to choose between a business and a personal life. And this is about creating a life where the two can genuinely coexist together, where you're not just trading time for money and you're no longer capped by low pricing because you're not competing with the same physique coaching offer as everyone else. Because let's be honest, what is the point of earning really decent money if, one, you don't even enjoy the business that you've built, you don't enjoy the clients that you're actually working with, and they're not aligned to you and your values, they just come to you because of how you look, and you don't even have time to enjoy the life anyway. Like, what is the actual point? Because I didn't see one. And this is why the Coach Creator OS is structured completely differently to traditional mentorships that jump straight into business strategy. It's built around 3 operating systems, and this order really matters. We start with the personal OS, identity engineering for the coach behind the business, because change is hard, and I'll be the first person to admit that. So if you want to confidently step into a new category and create real differentiation, the first step before anything has to be becoming the person that backs themselves so they actually see it through. Then it's the client OS installation, where you learn and install identity and performance-led delivery systems in your business. This is where coaching stops being just plans and check-ins and starts layering in behavioral change and performance metrics alongside it. The kind of value that allows you to step away from physique coaching and legitimately justify higher prices and attract aligned clients. Only after those two things are installed, do we move into the business OS? Because scale only makes sense to me if you have one, a delivery model and the results to back it up. Otherwise, all you're doing is scaling a broken model. Like that's it. And this is exactly why mentorships set coaches up to fail, because they jump straight into business strategy without ever upgrading the coach behind the business or the delivery model itself. And without those two things, it's almost impossible to create real differentiation or justify premium prices. But anyway, I'm gonna park that for 1 minute, as I'm gonna talk about that in episode 2, and I'm gonna break this down properly. I'm gonna look at how the Coach Creator OS is actually structured and why it's fundamentally different to normal mentorships in terms of the learning pathway itself. Before I wrap this episode up, I just wanna say this one thing. This path does require one thing, and it is the most important one to me, and that is responsibility. Because when you evolve delivery, you're no longer just handing out a training plan and sticking someone in a deficit. You are changing who someone becomes and the lens that they see the world through ultimately. And that right there is real identity work and real responsibility too. But it's also the one thing that AI will never be able to replace, as it requires human connection. And when you commit to learning this properly, the shift is honestly massive. It was massively aligned to my values. Your transformations then no longer become just before and after pictures. They become proof of performance, health, longevity, identity change, and physique transformation on top of it all. That is what creates real value and a level of proof that creates what I call a flywheel effect, where the right people start coming to you organically because your delivery is now unique and justified. And that is what changes the quality of your business, both from a financial standpoint, but from a fulfillment standpoint too. If you are a coach who's genuinely very good at what you do and you want to move into identity and performance-led coaching, then keep watching this series, because next up I'll walk you through the remaining episodes and take you into the OS itself. And I'm not here to pitch it, but if you do want to see everything that's included, you can find a link down below, because we can't deny that this shift is well underway right now. So the only question is whether you join it or to continue to compete on price like everyone else is doing. And this is exactly why I call this the future of coaching.